If you want to make a lot of money, become an ESL teacher. I've never heard anyone say that before, and I'm guessing that you haven't either. I think it's safe to say that as English teachers, none of us got into this profession to get rich. We teach English because we love helping our students, we love language, and we love connecting with different people all over the world. But even though we're not in it for the money, English teachers still deserve to get paid for what we do. Teaching is a valuable skill, and as we know all too well, there's a lot of hard work and time and passion that goes into doing it well. And we deserve to make a good living. Sadly, though, a lot of ESL teachers that I know don't make much money. Even though it's possible for them to make more, they just don't know how. If you're new here, hi, I'm Shannon, and I've been in the ELT industry for about 15 years total. And throughout my career, I've worked my way up from teacher in training to English teacher to teacher trainer to eventually the director of teacher training for the company where I worked. And now, finally, I run my own teacher training business. Through all of that, I've met a ton of teachers who were feeling overworked and underpaid. And honestly, that was me for a lot of my career as well before I started my own business. So maybe you can relate to that feeling as well. So if you are currently an English teacher who loves what you do, but also who feels like you're not making nearly as much money as you would like, even just to do the basics, like buy your groceries and pay your bills without needing to get another job, then this video is for you. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 reasons why you might not be making as much money as you could be making as an ESL teacher. All right, ready? Let's jump in. So reason number 1 is that you haven't gone freelance. If you are still working for a language school, a teaching company, another teacher organization, that is fine. It just means that you are dependent on that school for your income. So most likely you have a set hourly wage and there's a cap on the number of hours that you can actually work for that school. You're dependent on their class schedule, you're dependent on availability, you're dependent on supply and demand, if they have enough students to even give you work as one of their teachers. So there are a lot of factors that are very much out of your control, and often that leads to this relationship where you're kind of at their mercy, right? Often language schools don't pay a lot for planning, and even if they do pay for planning, you end up doing a lot more planning than the amount that they actually pay you for. And so when you add up the amount that you're actually working compared to what you're getting paid, the hourly is pretty low. When you're working for a language school or another organization, they will always also be the middleman, right? So most likely what they're charging students is one rate. The students who come to the language school are paying a certain rate. And then what they're paying the teachers is obviously going to be lower than that because otherwise they wouldn't be making money. So they're taking a huge cut as the language school. And what you're taking home is much less than it would be if the student was just paying you directly. So if you had a way to reach out to students directly as a freelancer, the classes could still probably be less expensive for the student. You could still make more money, right? Because you're cutting out that middleman of the language school or organization. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with language schools. I'm not saying you shouldn't work for a language school or another organization. I'm just saying that if your goal is to make more money, freelancing is the first step. So you could keep working for that language school or organization while you start to set up your own freelance business or situation in order to eventually, hopefully, transition out of working for somebody else so that you can earn more money working for yourself. Reason number 2 why you might not be making as much money as you could, even if you are a freelance teacher at this point, it may be because you don't know the best way to market yourself and to market your teaching skills. A lot of TEFLpreneurs, as I call them, people in the TEFL industry who are entrepreneurs, a lot of them make the mistake of setting everything up. They build or create a website, they have a course or an offer, right? They sell private lessons, they get all of that set up, and then they sit back and wait for the students to come to them. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. Just because you're sitting there with everything set up open and ready, it doesn't mean that students are going to magically, automatically find you. You need to put yourself out there. You need to go out there and find your ideal clients and students and let them know that you exist and how you can help them. That's your job as a freelance teacher or a TEFLpreneur, is to market yourself effectively. So what you need to do is figure out where your ideal students or clients hang out, whether that's a physical space or a virtual space, and think about how you can start becoming visible in that space and offering them help, showing them how you can be valuable to their English learning experience, so they'll see, oh wow, this teacher is someone that I think I could learn from, that I would like to work with. The third reason you may not be making as much money as you'd like as a freelance teacher is because you're not charging enough for your lessons. Now, I know this might be hard to hear. You might be thinking, but if I charge more, then students won't pay. I won't possibly be able to find any students that are going to pay any more than I already charge now. But the thing is, that's simply not true. I promise you there are students out there who are willing to pay what you're charging. Within reason, obviously, right? If you're charging thousands of dollars for a single 45-minute general English lesson, that might be a little bit hard to find someone who's going to pay that. But that being said, you never know. There could be someone out there who will pay that. I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying that you should scam people or charge exorbitant amounts of money and then not actually deliver value that is consistent with what you're charging. You absolutely should be delivering value. You should make sure that your lessons are worth what you're charging and more. But what I am saying is that often teachers undercut themselves. They undersell themselves. They short themselves in their hourly rate simply because they're scared that no one will pay more than the low amount that they're offering. The key here is you want to demonstrate why what you're offering is valuable. If you're teaching only general English, there's nothing unique about it, then it might be more difficult to justify why your lessons are worth a certain price. But if you are teaching something that is in demand, that students really need, something that's a little bit more specialized, or teaching it in a unique way, if you're able to show the value of what you're offering, then sooner or later you will find someone who recognizes that value and is willing to pay for it. Sadly, as English teachers, because we work with people all over the world in different countries, with different currencies, with different costs of living, it's impossible to set a price that's going to work for everybody. So depending on what the cost of living is where you live, right, it's possible that you'll have students who come to you who really want to work with you, but who simply can't afford to. And you're going to have to make some of those difficult decisions and sometimes feel a bit of that guilt when you say, no, I'm sorry, I can't teach for that price per hour, right? As much as you want to. We want to be able to teach every single student who comes to us and not worry about the money. That would be great. Unfortunately, if we start to do that, we become volunteers. And volunteering is great. Nothing wrong with volunteering. It's a wonderful way to connect with students and gain experience, but it has to be on your terms. There have to be boundaries around it. Because the problem is, if you keep offering your time and your skills and your value for less than what it's worth and for less than what you need to be able to support yourself, to pay your bills, to buy your groceries, to pay for all of your other costs of living, eventually you're going to start to feel, number one, resentful that you're working so hard and you're still not able to support yourself. And number two, you're going to have to support yourself some other way. So you're going to have to get another job or find some other way to make money, which is then going to take time away from the energy and attention that you could otherwise give to your students. So it is okay to charge what you need to charge in order to make a living, and it's okay to turn away the students who aren't able to pay that. Reason number 4 why you're not making as much money as you'd like could be that you haven't found a way to generate more passive income. So teaching one-to-one lessons is great. Teaching live classes is great. But sooner or later, you're going to max out on the number of hours that you can actually work. You're going to max out on the number of students that you can actually take on because there's only so much time that you can teach in a day or in a week. So eventually, you're going to hit this wall where you've maxed out your time and you can't create more hours in the day to teach, And you're also going to hit a ceiling in terms of how much you feel comfortable charging per hour, right? The only way to make more money is to start charging even more per hour or taking on more students. So once you reach a certain point, you're going to have to start thinking outside the box. And that's where things like asynchronous courses or digital products come in. So if you're at a point where you've maxed out your one-to-one or live group teaching schedule, you're in a great position to start creating some asynchronous or self-study courses and selling those as well. Obviously, creating an asynchronous or self-study course is a lot of work up front. It's going to take you some hours to put everything together. But once you've done it once, you can continue to sell that same course again and again. Students can sign up at any time. They can work through the material at their own pace. And that's going to be essentially, once the setup is done, passive income for you. So it's a great way to earn more money without having to continually show up live and invest more of your time. And finally, the last reason why you might not be making as much money as you'd like as an ESL teacher, this one's going to be a little bit blunt, is because you simply need to work on your actual teaching skills. So if you are somebody who got into teaching English simply because you can speak English and you like connecting with different people, that's fantastic. You're a great candidate then to be an English teacher. But you may have noticed at this point that booking students is not the same as retaining students. So if you don't have some solid teaching skills, a good foundation in methodology, classroom management, teaching strategies, and other specific techniques, it might be hard for you to feel truly confident in your teaching ability and to really demonstrate the value that you're bringing to your lessons. Word of mouth is one of the best ways to find more students. And so what you want to make sure is that your students are so happy leaving your lessons that they're going to go rave about you to everybody that they know, so that if anyone else they know is looking for an English teacher, you are the first person they come to. Most of the super successful freelance teachers that I know are so successful because all of their current students start recommending more students, and pretty soon their schedules are booked up. So if you're somebody who got into teaching without taking a teacher training course first, that's okay. It's never too late for you to go back and actually get some really solid training so that you can feel even more confident in what you're doing in the classroom, which is in turn absolutely going to help you retain your current students and find even more students. You will be so much more able to talk about your value, to sell your teaching skills when you feel really good about what those skills are. All right, let me know in the comments what you think. Tell me if you are a freelance teacher or if you're working for an organization and what you thought about this advice. And if you have questions about making more money as a freelance teacher, definitely let me know in the comments as well. See you next time, everybody.